This is where I do the big splashing entry. There we go. Wasn't too bad. Okay, away we go. Some waves coming. Bobbing around. Yeah, tide's still coming in. It's about almost high slack, but it's still coming in just a little bit. Check out the egret right there. Right there. I think he's getting used to having me come by. He used to take off way before I got that close, but now he seems to be accustomed to me. Yeah, our weather systems are changing over from the systems we have about 6 months of the year, which are 4 months of the year, I guess, which are dry and a little cooler by Thai standards. And now we're transitioning into the monsoon season. It's still kind of early for monsoons, but we're starting to see more small shower activity during the days, and more cloud cover. And then for about 4 months of the year coming up, like from June, July, August, September, October, that's the rainy season here in this part of Thailand by Bangkok. It'll get really, really hot, like around 100 degrees, and super humid, 70-80% humidity. So it'll just get unbearably hot and wet and still, and then it'll kind of crescendo throughout the day until we get a good rainstorm towards the end of the day, and then that cools everything down by about 10 degrees. Lots of ships on the water today. They're lighting off firecrackers at the temple. That's the thing about here in Thailand, there's so much of a Chinese heritage that they do fireworks for everything. You hear fireworks every single day of the year, and not just the little wimpy kind that we get back in the US, but they have the long strings of those jumbo ladyfingers, and each string is, it'll be 200 firecrackers long, and then at the very end of it you'll have a couple of, I guess they're cherry bombs or M80s, a couple really loud ones to punctuate the end of the volley. So they have it's typical for these fishing boats here, before they go out to sea, they'll go up to their temple that they pray at, and they'll light off a string of cherry bombs and firecrackers and pray for a good fishing trip. And then they'll take off and head out to sea. So that's kind of cool to see. Okay, so I'm going to turn around here and get going. Yeah, I might get some weather today. Look at these clouds over here. Big ones. Really gray. Usually I soak my shirt down before I get in my boat so I can evaporate off and cool down, but today I didn't. I'm bone dry. It's really comfortable out too. It's probably 80 degrees. Nice. Nice. Looks like the big Canadian banks are dead in the water right now, as of my morning time here, which is when I get up and check the news. Looks like there are 4 big banks up there that you can't get to online, and I think a lot of people that are involved with the protests up there are taking their money out, or trying to get to their money before their assets are frozen. Because in the eyes of the Canadian government, those protesters are terrorists. Something to keep an eye on. Whether you're in the United States or Canada, if you're protesting, or if you're of the opinion that if you're doing things actively to speak out against the tyranny, you are a terrorist. All the cool people are terrorists. You might be a terrorist and not even know. How about that? Also, if you go to church in the United States, the Department of Homeland you-know-what has determined that you are one of them as well. Something to keep an eye on. Who's really the terrorist? Is it the good God-fearing people? Or could it possibly be the other way around? Something to think of. Think about that. Bunch of mockingbirds. Not mockingbirds, myna birds. I get them confused. Yeah, so we've got this big Catholic church across the river from us, which is, it's really the only Catholic facility I've seen down here in our neighborhood, but it's a big one. I don't know if they speak English there or not. Maybe they speak Latin. I don't know. I don't know how Catholic these guys are. But it's kind of interesting. You'll go out and you'll paddle around sundown, and you'll hear there's a big temple right there off the bow, and then you've got the Catholic Church, and then down here, that place with the red roofs, that's another big Thai temple. And then behind me, of course, doing about face here, you can see our neighborhood temple, Wat Krokrak. Wat means temple. So that's Wat Krokrak, the one with the big red roof. There's a temple there. And around 4:30 in the afternoon, 4:30 or 5, the monks all start their evening chant, which is done in an ancient language called Sanskrit. Very, very ancient language, and it's really mesmerizing. You'll hear the sound of the chants, and it'll echo off the far side of the river here and bounce back. So they'll all be praying at the same time that the Catholic Church tolls its bell. And it's really surreal to be out here on the water at that time of day. It's a very unique experience to have. You kind of have to be there, but I'm trying to tell you about it just so you can imagine it in your head. Just the sounds echoing off the sides of the river, and then you get the sun setting over here off to the east with the chanting and the bells, and it's really, really neat. Really cool experience to be part of that, to see that and witness it. Pretty much everybody here is Buddhist, other than I don't know how many people this Catholic Church gets over here. It's a big church, so there are some. And up north in Thailand, you still have a lot of animists, people that worship and pray to spirit gods, kind of akin to American Indian. The spirit of the river, the spirit of the trees, the spirit of the mountains. And then there's all kinds of different deities and spirits. Also, it's an ancient religion. Some of them were converted to Christianity up there, so you'll see Christian churches interspersed in the mountains next to Thai temples that are Buddhist, and next to the indigenous animist tribes, the hill people up there, which are still, some of them are still animist. So you have those three different religions all together, and from what I can tell, they all seem to get along just fine. Nobody's trying to cut anybody's heads off or anything like that. That's been my experience. By lightning. That could put a damper on my whole day. So I'm gonna boogie back. See how fast I can go. Spot. Here we go. This way here. The best, I guess. Here comes that Baywatch guy on his jet ski. I don't want to be out there in the middle. I think it's a bad place to be right now. Still no lightning, that's good. I don't see him anymore. Yeah, I think he flushed out of there. Oh, there he goes. He's up in the trees. Nah, he split. He's out of here. Shit. He's up there in the trees still. I might be able to get a shot of him. Oh, there's another one. Ah, I missed it. Wow, I've never seen somebody down here. Let me circle back. I'm getting some long shots. Yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back. You can probably roost in here at night. Betting that's what they do. Some way up there in the treetops. Oh, it's one of those green pigeons. There's a couple of them up there. Up in the tip tops. Yeah, so I'm heading back. Tide's going out quick. So anyway, more about bird hunting. I used to have bird dogs. I had Alex and Ginger initially. They were just kind of pound dogs, dog pound dogs that I started taking out with me when I'd go in the woods and stuff, and they really just had a natural instinct to do it. So I got started with bird hunting and then really got into it. That's what I did for years, 7 or 8 years while they were young and strong, and then got into waterfowling. I've always been interested in birds, bird watching and learning about birds. And some people say, well, how could you kill them? How could you shoot them? Isn't that bad karma or whatever? And my answer to that is, I would rather, I need protein. People need protein. And I would prefer to take a bird that was wild and free, never having to be in a cage, never having to be pumped full of hormones and steroids and crap. I would rather harvest a bird in its natural environment and be part of nature in that way. Utilize that protein. Spend time with my dogs in the wilderness. Being free. I think that's a noble endeavor. There's no joy in killing a living thing, but doesn't a wild grouse or a pheasant or a duck have as much right to live as a chicken or a bird in a cage in a farm, factory farm? Each of those lives it's a living creature. I would rather take a living creature in the wild, a free wild thing, than purchase a bird that was raised in a cage and pumped full of junk that isn't really good for me. That bird that's been factory farmed has been a prisoner all its life. What kind of life is that? At least a wild bird was able to live freely and procreate, hopefully, and then be utilized and enjoyed, the experience enjoyed. And hopefully its death is swift, you know, and its meat, its flesh is taken up and enjoyed. I used to share all the stuff I got with my bird dogs. Later on in my bird hunting history, I got, you know, Alex and Ginger went. Alex died when he was about 12, and then I kind of loped along with Ginger. Didn't do a lot of bird hunting with her in the end because she was pretty old. She lived to be about 16, but she, you know, she'd like to stomp around in the woods with me. And then I picked up my golden retriever, Caden. He was about 4 when I got him, and I rescued him from a family that just, it was the bad timing for a dog like that, a real high-strung field dog. They had little ones and babies on the way, and it just was bad timing. So they were good enough to realize that the dog was going to suffer and not live up to its potential if it stayed with them. So they let me have the dog, and I hunted a lot with him. And we got out on tons of cool adventures. Lots of ducks and pheasants, and you name it. You know, he was a rough and tumble dog, and we all really loved him. We let him go this last summer. He was 16, which is a long haul for a bird dog. Big golden retriever. I guess he weighed about 75 pounds, 77-ish. And he'd had a great life. In the end, I ended up sharing him with my mom, because Anya and I had our business that we had to run during the week. So during the week, he'd stay with my mom, and she had a pool, and she would walk him all over the place. She used to walk like 6 or 7 miles a day, and he continued to walk a long ways every day until he was, you know, until the very end. He was active, and I think that's what kept him going, was that daily routine. What a cool dog he was. Anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on hunting. I guess I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm almost home. Hope you guys are doing good, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.